because anybody can be good at jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is for everybody. Anybody can be tough, but I'm not trying to just make people that are tough. I'm trying to pick. I'm weeding the people out, and I want to make the good people.
Hello, friends. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Mayn Idea podcast. For today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Hunter Ewald. A quick reminder for those of you that enjoy this podcast, if you've listened to more than 2 episodes, take 30 seconds and leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and subscribe to the YouTube channel. This helps the show get discovered organically and helps me continue to bring on amazing guests. There are also now timestamps in the show notes, so feel free to jump around to the part that interests you most, although I always recommend listening to the episode in its entirety. And to support the show, check out the sponsors in the show notes. It goes a long way, and I really appreciate it. Hunter Ewald is a Jiu Jitsu black belt under Bruno Ewald, Bellator fighter and owner of Waioli Fight Club in Hanalei, Kauai. A child of Jiu Jitsu, Hunter has traveled the world competing, learning, and developing into a Jiu Jitsu practitioner who is concerned with the well-being and development of his community. Unfortunately, the episode was cut short as Hunter had to get back to teaching, but I'm grateful that we got to sit down and talk about what makes jiu-jitsu so special. I hope that you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Without further ado, Hunter Ewald. So Hunter, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to be here all the way out from Kauai. As I was telling you before, I had such a great time when I was out there being able to train with your dad, and I'm stoked that we're able to jump on here.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for your time. You came to Kauai. You ended up coming to the right gym. You trained with my dad. That's the spot.
Yeah.
So, thank you again.
Yeah, so actually it's kind of cool timing because since you and I got in touch and we booked the episode, it looks as though you just launched your whole own deal,
Yeah.
right? So how did this come about? Like, when did you decide you wanted to start doing something in Hanalei and kind of creating your own academy that's separate from Longman?
It's kind of always just been a dream of mine since I was a little kid. And it's really been a project of mine for a while on my mind that I've been wanting to do. And I've kind of been having this following of young teenager kids, and I've been just been noticing with them how they've been just having trouble finding their way up to Kilauea because
Mm-hmm.
we're on the North Shore, but there's a couple towns past Kilauea. We have Princeville, we have Hanalei, we have Wainiha, Haena. So in all these towns, there's a bunch of these kids where, their parents are having a hard time getting off of work early to bring them to Kilauea, or, just kind of coordinating to get up there. So for me, I was always in my head as trying to figure out a place that I could create for them that would be more central location, more close to them, because 30 minutes is a long drive for these kids, especially when their parents have
For
to give them a
sure.
ride. So now I was able to create this spot in Honolulu, which is at my house right now. And my first class, I had 7 students come. My
Yeah.
third class I just had last night, I had 22. So
Damn.
it's just organically growing because like these kids, they really love it. And it's just something I'm super stoked to be able to. I didn't create it, you know what I mean? Because my dad is this guy that brought it there, but I'm just somebody who's able to, just be another tool in the community to give these kids something to do, keep them busy.
Yeah. That was I liked what you put up, like if you build it they will come kind of thing, but it's true. Like you create something like this and it really does draw in the right kind of people who are looking for something like that. What did you ever, like when you were younger, did you ever think that you would be in a position where you could give back to your community in this capacity and really like create something positive that has structure and also gives these kids something that like it's going to make them better people?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that I honestly grew up watching my dad do that already. So my
Yeah.
dad was the guy that I've always watched him have 3, 4 jobs and like paint all day long and then come home and teach jujitsu at the house and then,
Yeah.
move the jujitsu out of the house and then, work this security job, work this job and then go and teach jujitsu. So he's always been this guy that's juggling and still making it work. And, for a long time, he thought of jujitsu for him as kind of like almost just like a give back thing, like a social project where he would help and give back to the community. So, now in reality, we live in the place that's the most beautiful place in the world, but at the same time, like the cost of living is so high, so
Yeah.
it's really kind of for me now is just finding a way to make a living doing what I love, because
Hmm.
I've kind of, a lot of people go to college, a lot of people do this, and I didn't do that. All I did was train jujitsu from a young age, and like
Yeah.
I got my GED when I was 16, and I lived in the gym. I lived in a bunk bed right next to the gym. I've slept on the mats before, and I kind of just invested all my stuff into jujitsu, and like right now I've gotten to that age now where now is my time to be able to give back. And I'm still at that age
Yeah.
where I can connect with these younger kids, where I'm not like this old guy. I'm still like, I just turned 29, and,
Yep.
they feel like they can look up to me, but still like they can still talk to me because so I'm really
Yeah.
blessed. And if I was able to look back younger when I was young, like, did I see myself being able to do this? Like, it's been a dream of mine, it's always been my
Yeah.
dream to be able to have my own students and be able to say like, oh yeah, these are my students, so I'm
Yeah.
super grateful.
What was it about I mean, obviously, so you come from a family where jujitsu is very central, with your father really like bringing jujitsu to that part of to Kauai and getting that whole community going. But what was it about jujitsu that made you want to sleep on the mats? Where you're like, I'm going to put a bunk bed right here, and I'm going to train as much as I do, because I feel like in a lot of instances, if you have like a talented kid and whatever it is runs in the family, it's not always the case that that kid happens to then like the thing that their dad's into, right? Like
Totally.
maybe it's soccer, maybe it's hockey, maybe
So
it's
true.
basketball,
So
and it's
true.
actually the opposite. It's like they're so sick of their family doing it that they want absolutely nothing to do with it.
Totally.
So,
Totally.
what do you think it was about jujitsu that like clicked for you at that young age where you're like, yo, this is what's up.
Yeah,
I need to know more
that's
about
actually a
this.
great question, because like it's funny because when I was actually like 12 years old, my dad still had jujitsu in the garage at the time, and I would be inside the house watching WWE, watching
Yeah.
wrestling while there's jujitsu going on in the garage. Like I'm watching the fake stuff, while the
Yeah.
real stuff's going on in the garage. So my dad and his friends would come in, and I would like turn off the TV real fast and act like I'm watching something else. And they're, oh, what are you doing? Oh, So I really remember as a young kid, like I was very surrounded by it, and to the point where it's like, oh yeah, it's always there, it's always gonna be there. But then you get to a
Right.
certain age where it's like, 13 years old, you start having these interactions without your parents around. There's bullies, you get to start to real life situations. And for me, when I went to the middle school, 13 years old, seventh grade, and I met these kids from the other side of the island, and you know, I'm from Hawaii. I'm born and raised here, but we have this thing here. It's like if I'm not Hawaiian, you know what I mean? I'm born and raised here.
Yep.
My mom's born and raised here, but I don't have Hawaiian blood. So like for me, like you're in school and you got the kids calling you haole, and it's like, wait,
Yep.
what are you gonna do? Like, so it gets to a certain point where like these kids start bullying you, and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta train jujitsu. I gotta train a lot of jujitsu so
Yeah.
I don't get bullied. You know what I mean? And then after a while, you're like, wait, I gotta train jiu-jitsu to beat people up, and like, wait, I don't need to beat people up. You know what I mean? I train enough jiu-jitsu now. I don't even need to anymore. So
Right.
it's really good because sometimes jiu-jitsu can you train for one reason, thinking that you want to like get really tough, but in reality, it gives you that confidence to where you don't need to. It gets you away from the danger in these situations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just really lucky that I also had these people besides my dad, because my dad, like you said, when you're around it so much, it could make you do the opposite, steer you away from it. And right at that age where you kind of like, are you gonna like it or not? I had people in my life besides my dad that I looked up to, kind of like uncles, people that were like
Yeah.
my dad's age, a little bit younger than him, that could connect with me more and talk with me, and I
Yeah.
looked up to them and I wanted to be like them. And when I was 16 years old, Cyborg came and visited Hawaii. I was already a blue belt,
Yeah.
and that was a really big game changer for me because I got to meet this guy who was already this, you know, this. It was
Superstar.
actually when YouTube kind of like really started blowing up. I was
Yeah.
already for a couple years, but one of this big videos was the tornado guard. So in
Yeah.
2010, I'll never forget, this tornado guard video was on YouTube, and my friend showed it to me, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. What a crazy technique. I've been training jiu-jitsu my
Yeah.
entire life. I've never seen this inverted stuff before. And boom, next thing you know, this guy reaches out to my dad and says that he's coming to Kauai and wants to come, train for a
Dang.
couple of days, and he's going to fight the Honolulu Open. So, I ended up meeting him at 16 years old, and that was a really big game changer for me because it was this guy that was just this giant in my eyes, and was just one of the nicest guys. And he invited me to Miami, and ever since there, my life just like took a changed for the sport, where I just lived every single day, just jujitsu all day long, competitions every month, all the biggest competitions in the world, training with the best guys in the world, and just very blessed, how, you, like you're saying, you can just meet one person, and that
Yeah.
besides your family, and it really just like takes you on this whole nother trajectory.
Dude, it's such a trip. So when Hurricane Nikki hit, my dad moved down there as a general contractor from the States to help build because there was tons of work and he had no work. My mom and I then moved down to visit him. We ended up living in a garage that he converted into a house in Kilauea. And I went to a school, so I was like 7, 8, 9 when we were there. And I always asked my parents, I was like, why do we leave? Like Kauai is such a vibe. It's amazing there. And they told me, and I don't really remember, like I don't have vivid memories of this, but I thought about it when you were mentioning this. My dad was in a unique position because he had respect from local people because he was helping them rebuild homes and destroy properties and stuff like that. But then when I was in school, I guess I was getting picked on a lot, like constantly bullied and picked on and made fun of. And that was actually the reason that my parents pulled me out of school and we moved back to the States. It was like such a intense thing for them. I don't really remember it happening, but they were like, it was bad enough to where they were like, I think this kid's going to start to get beat up all the time if we don't like take him out of here.
Yeah,
And
totally.
jujitsu wasn't on my dad's radar. It wasn't
Totally.
on my radar. Like there was nothing for me. So I was just kind of like, I try to remember, but I don't have much there. But they moved, and I wonder, like, when you're in that setting, because bullying is that's something that you hear talked about a lot, especially in jiu-jitsu, for the exact reasons that you said. It's like you can get this confidence for self-defense. Some people do it because they want to fight people, but really the deeper into it you get, and the more that you do it, and the more you understand the martial art of it, the further you distance yourself from those conflict naturally,
Of
because
course.
you get it, you
Yeah,
get the levels
totally.
to it, you get that a jiu-jitsu guy, a black belt's not a black belt is not a black belt. So when you're in that setting, when you're a kid, like, do you have certain memories of what that was like?
Well, of course. I have memories. There's guys that messed with me when I was a little kid that I still remember them. You know what I mean? That are really cool nowadays. I see them and they act like
Yeah.
they never did nothing. You know what I mean? And I the thing is, you always got to forgive people, but not forget. You know what I mean? But at the same
Hmm.
time, where I come from, in such a small town, where
Hmm.
everyone knows everybody. Everyone knows everyone's business. You know
Yeah.
everyone's story. I've known a lot of these. That's what's so nice about this thing that I've created for these kids right now. A lot of these teenagers. I've known these kids since they were born. They're 15 years
Yeah.
old. They're 16 years old now. I remember when I was 12 years old, 13, and they were born. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm at this unique situation now where like these kids are looking up to me, but I'm also feeling like I'm their friend. I'm like their older brother. So it's a really
Well, then they'll listen to you. Like
and that
that puts you in a unique position to where you can actually have a positive influence because you're not the other. You're not like
exactly.
the adult dude who's just
Exactly.
not cool.
Exactly. I'm
You're
not some
close to
I'm
them.
not some guy that just showed up. No, I'm a guy that's always
Right.
been in their community, that they've known their entire lives, and knows each one of them by name. So it's like you said, like I'm not trying to arm these kids with a machine gun to go run around town with. No, I'm really trying to give these kids the skills, and give them the abilities to really not create problems, but to see problems happening and kind of diffuse them, and just to, I'm not trying to make a bunch of really tough fighters. You know what I mean? I really want to make people
Right.
that are good people. If I could have a choice between like champions on the mat or champions in life, I would choose to have
Yeah.
champions in life. You know what I mean? I want to have people that are good people, that are going to make our community better, that are going to treat people good the way that they want to be treated, and just like people that when I'm not around, they're gonna be able to see them and be like, oh yeah, they train with Hunter. I can tell they're good, nice guys, you know. So
I was thinking about when I watched the video, you have them doing the cold plunge, right? Like
yeah,
jumping into the river. And maybe on first glance, it's just like, oh, cool. It's, some kids are doing some like recovery stuff. But then I thought about that, and I'm like, how cool is that, man? Imagine like if I could go back to when I was 14 or 15, there was someone in my life that was like teaching me skills that were gonna surely make me a better person, but then also teaching me how to like be healthy, how to like push myself mentally and physically, but also do it in a way that uplifts my community and my friend group.
totally.
That's a really, really, really powerful thing. And to be fair, you have no idea how much of an impact that can have on the trajectory of these kids' lives.
Well, like I'm just so grateful because you know, like that serotonin burst when you give somebody a present and like you get something
Yeah.
also. Like I
Yeah.
honestly, I'm getting more out of it than them. You know,
Right.
every single time that these kids tell me thank you, it's like I
Yeah.
just get it just feels so good when I watch them train and I'm seeing their movements. It's literally like watching a baby crawl and then watching them run and do a backflip. Like I'm watching this little kid do something like they didn't know what they were doing, and now I'm watching them
Yeah.
roll. Like I have these really good kids right now. You know, like you seen the picture. You know, I had
Yeah.
22 kids. You know, it's my third class, and a lot of these kids they've known each other their entire lives, and they grew up together, and it's just a contagious thing. Right now, I actually just came to my sponsor's house. That's just my friend. You know, my friend, my
Yeah.
sponsor. Um, he's a guy that just is like always believed in me for many years. I met him when I was like 18 years old, and I watched him grow from a small soap company, you know, one bar of
Yeah.
soap to now he has, you know, 15 bars of soap, maybe 20 different types of soap, and he actually branched off now almost like a clothing company, Train Till We
Oh wow.
Die, armbar soap company. So
Yep.
he's going to be sponsoring my gym, my project, and he's going to be giving me some geese to be donating to all these kids, you know, because a lot of these kids, like,
Dude.
they're not a bunch of rich kids, you know. Right now,
Right.
I'm training them for free right now. So all these kids that are in that picture, they're all not paying for jiu-jitsu. I'm just kind of, you know, really making them fall in love with the sport and just kind of give them that base to where I hope can, you know, even if they don't train ever again, or the ones that are going to stick with it and stay there, they're going to love it, you know what I mean, and hopefully just give
Yeah.
them some good values and stuff that, like you said, will stick with them for the rest of their life, you know.
Yeah. You said something interesting about the approach here of what you're looking to get out of it. Like you said, I would rather have like champions in life than champions on the mat. And that's a really unique take on this because I feel like the common thread most of the time is that people open a school and they're like, I want to start to produce the absolute best world beaters, get people into the UFC, IBJJF, whatever. Why the pull to create better humans versus shoot for creating champions?
You know, it's just because anybody can be good at jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is for everybody. Anybody can be tough, but
Yeah.
I'm not trying to just make people that are tough. I'm trying to pick. I'm weeding the people out, and I want to make the good people. I'm trying to like. I just don't want to. Jiu-jitsu is good, but in the wrong hands, it's not good.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of bad people that are involved in jiu-jitsu. Just like there's a lot of bad
Mhm.
people that are police officers, but there's also a lot of good
Yeah.
people. There's a lot of bad people that are politicians. There's a lot of good politicians. There's bad people in the church. There's great people in the
Yeah.
church. You know what I mean? So it's like we can say this all day long about every single thing. You know, like I know a lot of really, 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 really good people in jiu-jitsu that I would
Mhm.
hope to think that could cancel out some of these bad people. But in reality, like there's some really bad people in jiu-jitsu, you know, that have done some really bad things that should never be forgiven, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, when I think about jiu-jitsu, like I'm not trying to, like, in the future, in 50 years from now, like you're able to trace down the line, like, oh, that guy, oh, that was a student of Hunter, like this,
Right.
you know what I mean? So, oh, this guy, you know what I mean? I can think about the craziest things I can have. I don't want these guys to be involved with, you know. So right
Yeah.
now, I looking around and I have this group of kids. I have 22 kids, and they're like a bunch of pure good souls that are just. I just want to help them, and I'm not great. That's the thing about it. Jiu-jitsu is great. Jiu-jitsu is amazing, and I'm just a tool, a vessel that I'm just grateful that my dad gave me jiu-jitsu and I had Cyborg to teach me and I had all these fucking amazing mentors that I'm able to like just be this person out to help these kids and guide them because again, like I'm not great. I just have all these connections that I can help these people with. So it's like look at you now being helping me to spread the message even more. It's like we can do so much with more.
I like to ask pretty much everyone this question because it's actually interesting how many different answers it produces given its simplicity. But what does jujitsu mean to you?
That's a crazy question because for me, it's a corny question. It's one of those corny questions, but it's like,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna give a corny answer. I mean, in that, you know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah.
what is jujitsu? Like jujitsu is everything for me. Where I eat, breathe, and sleep jujitsu. My daughter's last name is Gracie, or I'm sorry, her middle name
Yeah.
is Gracie. Um,
Damn. God, correction there.
no, 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 but her
Yeah.
great great grandpa is Carlos Gracie. My wife's last
Yeah.
name is Gracie. You know,
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
so. I love Jitsu so much. I went to Brazil and I married a Gracie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and had a baby with a Gracie, and it's like, um, I just eat, sleep, bleed, cry Jiu-Jitsu. Every my life is revolved around it, and I'm just so grateful that I'm able to help these kids now and give back.
So I guess the flip side of that question is, what are you without jujitsu? A couple of questions kind of in this vein, but if you'd remove jujitsu from your
Oh, I'm
life,
not
how do
Hunter.
you
I'm
feel
not
like
like
your life changes?
I. You tell me right now that I can't train jiu-jitsu and I can't be involved in jiu-jitsu, my life crumbles. So
Yeah.
that's why I just went and opened this gym in Hanalei just to be able to have this gym closer to me and be able to be more involved with it and be closer to my family and not have this sacrifice of driving an hour every day to go teach and just to be able to just to
Oh,
be able to, it's just so hard when you have to travel and leave to go so far to work, like I was driving about 30 minutes one way just to go train and teach. And now I'm able to like teach a private, boom, right at my little private gym. And I'm able to have these kids and receive them in my gym and, you know, just share a little bit of my knowledge. So I'm just super grateful. And for me, if you tell me like what is jujitsu to me, I'll tell you it's everything. You tell me you're
yeah.
taking jujitsu away from me, I'll tell you I don't know what I'm gonna do now because I that's my life is jujitsu. I am jujitsu. It's like
Yeah.
I've had, oh my gosh, I don't like, it's one of those things like I wake up every single day and that's the first thing I'm thinking about. I slept on the mats last night. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's
It seems that jujitsu, for people that have done it for a long time, like it really is this. Um, it like just makes you even keel. Like you because it has there's such a physical demand in the moment when you are training that the intensity can ramp up, and it's physical in that someone else is doing jujitsu with you versus like for example a CrossFit workout is hard, but it's just you and the fitness equipment. No one else is there acting against you, and because of that, it's a very specific type of exertion. And so when you're off the mats, it's I feel like it's much easier to be even keel in life because anything that rises up or anything that's bothering you, it takes that all away. It's like a very good
yeah.
equalizer.
I've just been really grateful that I've like anytime I see these stresses and stuff, I really do gotta take a step back because like I literally I'm born and raised in the most beautiful place in the world. I've been blessed to, see these other places. I spent a year in Brazil. I lived in Miami for 6 years. And have you ever read the story, the book The Alchemist, by Paulo
Yeah.
Coelho?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And
that's
Warrior
I
of Light. You read
I
that
feel
one?
like I never did Warrior Flight.
Very good.
I did the Alchemist. I need to check that one out.
Yeah.
But that the Alchemist, I feel like it's like a story of my life, you know. So it's like I went in search of this treasure, and I
Yeah.
went on this journey all across the world in search of this treasure, finding out that the treasure was home all along, you know.
Yeah.
So,
What made you feel the need to go on that quest? I feel like a lot like here's the reason I asked this. When I read Warrior of Light, which is also a Paulo Coelho book, I was like taken off on a one-way trip to Bali by myself with no reservations, and I didn't know when I was coming back. But it just happened that that book was what I read while I went and did that. And you hear a lot of times whenever someone brings up like The Alchemist or Warrior of Light, accompanying that book is some type of like life transformation that they're going through or they're seeking, or like
oh, of
what
course.
was it that made you want to go on that quest?
I've actually read that book a couple times, been recommended it by
Mm.
people before, but for me, being the son of a black belt and someone who I was raised around jiu-jitsu and fighting and martial arts and MMA, and I've been just my life has been revolved around it. I grew up having a gym in my garage, and um, when I was 16 years old, I kind of just made that decision to where like, wait, like this school stuff, I'm just like, I don't like it. It's not for me. I really enjoy jiu-jitsu. My mom noticed that, and she
Yeah.
just gave me that help that like, here, like, you really want to do this? Let's do it. Let's have you go to college early. And I convinced her to let me take a
Yep.
break from starting college and do jiu-jitsu for a year. And I've been doing it ever since. So my
Yeah.
mom, honestly, like, she's not the black belt, my dad is, but she's always been the one that supported me more than anything. My dad, honestly, has always told me to get a job. I don't
Yep.
think he's believed in it as much as me.
Yeah.
So for me now, I'm just been it's my time to really have an academy and really make it blow up, because it's like In-N-Out Burger and Burger King or McDonald's. There's an In-N-Out on one side of the road, there's a Burger King on the other, but In-N-Out Burger is around the street, the line. Burger King, there's two people in the line. They're both serving burgers. It's just
Yeah.
you can't compare their products. One is a different product. So somebody could open another 10 jiu-jitsu academies next to me, I feel like, but because of the product that I serve, I don't think anybody can compete with me, because
Yeah.
like I said, like, what is jiu-jitsu to you? Jiu-jitsu is me. I eat,
Yeah.
breathe, and sleep jiu-jitsu. If you're talking bad about jiu-jitsu, I feel like you're talking bad about me. So
I think it's important too when you're in those developing years. Like sometimes having both of those parental attitudes can be important, right? Like to have the approach of your dad up against the approach of your mom. Like if it's all one or the other, I don't know if it develops the kid as much. Whereas if you got one person like supporting you and one person telling you to get a job, those two things kind of keep you in the
of
middle,
course,
going about and doing the right
one
thing.
person you want to prove right, and one person you want to prove wrong. You know what I mean? It's always
Exactly.
it's kind of it's a good thing. You know what I mean? It's like, not that I wanted to prove my dad wrong, but at the same time, it's like, you when somebody's telling you to get a job and you know how good you are, you're like, wait a minute, like, I think I kind of believe in myself. I think I can do this. Like, wait,
what what was it like going to Brazil for the first time and training there versus having, grown up in the academy and learned everything under that roof?
well, I actually trained for the first time in Brazil when I was like 12 years old, with
Yep.
my dad, in one of the Gracie Humaitá academies. And You know, training in Brazil is a lot different than America. They especially, I would say, like, 15 years ago, because just times have changed a lot. But back then, they take it a lot more serious. They train really hard over there. They have small spaces. Like,
Yep.
the space that I got with all my kids in it, that's normal in Brazil. They got
Okay.
they got really small spaces that are packed, and you know, it's just I've honestly just been trying to instill kind of the stuff that I've been picking up in training in Brazil, is just like this gratefulness. People are just so grateful over there, because they even if you have a lot of money, you walk outside and you see somebody that has nothing. So it kind of just it gives you that reality check very quickly in Brazil, where everybody, you can't get away from the poverty there. You know what I mean? Where over here,
Yeah.
where I am, there is poverty too, but there's also the rich of the rich. There's these people that have so much money that they don't even know what money is. So the value of money. And for me, the time that I've spent training in Brazil has always been like an eye opener to what jiu-jitsu really is and people live off of it. And but also at the same time, there's so many people that do it that the value isn't as high. So
You mean like there's just so many people in so many different academies and that you can
yeah,
get
there's
it
just
anywhere
so
you
many,
go?
exactly. There's so many academies. You drive here, you can get it. You drive there, you can get it. You drive there, you can get it. Whereas, you know, in America, it's not as much. It's taking a while to catch on. People. So, but it's been really blowing up as of recently. With the UFC and all these things. So it's great. I just right now is the best time ever to have an academy, and I'm just super grateful to be able to help teach all these kids. Because again, like I said, it's all about the kids.
Do you have any desire to do another mixed martial arts fight? To go back in
You know
Bellator
what? I
and do
really,
that?
I really do. I really do. I almost got one actually, April 22nd. There was one in Oahu for the Bellator. I was thinking about it. They actually offered me a name of a guy, and I was
Yeah.
kind of like iffy about it, and just thought I was iffy about it. They already gave it to somebody else. So to be totally honest, I need to be training a lot. I need to get a lot of sparring in to be able to be ready for those big lights, on the
Yeah.
show. I could have gone out there and tapped the guy out really quick, gone out there, boom, 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 little Nate Diaz, hit
Yeah.
the guy, not get hit, get him without, take him down. But really, you can't be trying to do anything half-assed, not 100%. So it's really important, especially when you're putting your life on the line. Your body, you can get injured. One wrong punch and you're never the same. So that's always
Yeah.
something in the back of my head. I just turned 29. I really don't feel like
Yep.
I'm that old yet. I have my youth, and now's the time really to use it. But again, I just have a lot of things going on, a lot of projects. I'm really wanting to focus on this academy and making it kind of making it work right now. Just getting all these guys really pumped up on it, and that's why I actually came to the South right now to help to see my sponsor and get these gis for these kids. So I got class in a couple hours here. I'm gonna go drive back home and get the mats ready, get the gym ready for these kids.
How did when you ended up getting that Bellator fight, is that something like did you always want to fight mixed martial arts or were you was that kind of the natural progression of you through being competitive in jiu-jitsu, being around this kind of stuff and then that's a step, right? I mean, that's a big jump from being competitive in jiu-jitsu tournaments and then actually
Yeah,
stepping in
well,
there because
well,
the
for
risk is so high.
totally. Well, for me, the jiu-jitsu that I feel like I was taught as a kid, and from my dad, and just being around, it wasn't a jiu-jitsu that I was always thinking about getting punched in the face. I was always thinking about a
Huh.
self-defense situation. Being raised in Hawaii, where it's such a fighting culture here. I was always
Yeah.
thinking about like, oh, I got to use this jiu-jitsu to defend myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wasn't thinking about using my jiu-jitsu to go defend myself in a jiu-jitsu fight. No, it's in a real fight.
Yeah.
So for me, the natural progression was you get to a certain level of jujitsu, you fight no-gi, you fight jujitsu, you fight, you fight everything. It's not like, oh, I train jujitsu and I only train in a gi. No, it's you train no-gi, you train gi. And then you get to a certain level, it's like, okay, I fought the world championships, fought the Pan Ams, I fought in Abu Dhabi, I fought in Brazil, I fought, in many different places. Like now my next step would be I would want to test myself in MMA. I've
Right.
I've got to train with a lot of really good people, a lot of really talented guys, a lot of guys that fight MMA, and I feel like I've done well with them. Like, wait, how come I can't do this? Like their
Right.
level of boxing might be better than mine, but my level of jujitsu is way higher than their level of boxing. So I feel like if I could just turn it into a jujitsu fight and take them down, I feel like I could get them. Where I feel like that's the problem a lot of the times with some of these jiu-jitsu guys is they turn it into an MMA fight, where of course I know it is that. It's different. It's
Yeah.
not a jiu-jitsu fight, but if you try to do an MMA fight with an MMA fighter, you're going to get beat up. If you try to
Right.
kick and punch or the punch, I'm trying to grab you and do jiu-jitsu on you and take you down and choke you out.
Right.
Like every time I've done an MMA sparring with these guys that are really good MMA fighters, I'm not trying to go and trade punches with you and get hurt and go home and put ice on my body. because like you
Straight
kicked me
up.
and punched me and I have like a sore face. Like, no, I want to take you down as quick as possible and get and hold you and control you so you can't hit me. So for me, that's always kind of what jujitsu has been, and my intent for teaching jujitsu is going towards that also. That's why I named my gym kind of like, Waioli Fight Club. Waioli is kind of
Yeah.
like the valley, the town over there. And you use the word just jujitsu, you kind of just close yourself into just thinking about like rolling on the ground. So I kind of was thinking, oh, I
Totally.
want to just like, I want to keep it in people's heads that this is also for fighting. This is also
Yeah.
for self defense. This is also a club. This is a private gym. This is a club for us. This is our club. So I just wanted to give these kids like a sense of pride to like know that they're a part of a cool little crew.
Do you see that as it grows and more kids get involved, more community members want to come and check it out, that you'll start to utilize like Muay Thai and striking stuff in there as it
Um,
interests them, or
I
is that something you
actually,
want to stay
it's
away
funny you
from?
said that because I actually have my coach, 11-time world champion Muay Thai, coming next week to come
Oh,
do a
that's what's up.
class. Yeah. So he's gonna come over and he's coming to Kauai. He was actually planning on do a seminar, but things didn't work
Dude,
out.
these
So
kids are going to be so hyped, man.
no,
They're going to be
11
so
time
hyped.
11-time world champion. The guy's the Kelly
Yeah.
Slater of Muay Thai. His name's Nathan Carnage Corbett.
No
Um,
shit, from Australia.
yeah, Nathan Carnage. He would
Dude,
be an amazing guy to get on your podcast.
bro, that guy hit so
Oh,
fucking
dude,
hard,
you got
dude.
to watch his YouTube, and he's
Oh, I
literally like,
do.
yeah, he's
I'm obsessed with
amazing.
that
His,
dude.
his highlight reel is probably one of the most vicious highlight reels I've ever seen in my life. Just because
Hold up.
like,
Did these kids know who they're like?
no, they don't
Do
know.
they?
They don't
Oh
even know
man,
yet. They don't
they're
even
gonna
know
be
yet.
so hyped.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring. So he's coming,
Damn.
and he's like, he
Yeah.
just commented on my thing. He's like, I'm gonna bless you guys this next week, and I'll show up at the gym, teach you a class for you guys. So I'm like, oh, that's unreal. So
Dude, what a treat for these kids to be able to be around someone like you who's got this going on, and then to be surrounded by. There's something about just I don't know. I've always I don't know why, but I've always just felt like fighters at high levels. There's something about them, like the way that obviously they carry themselves, but the willingness to give back and the excitability around giving back, it's very present. Like that's going to be a wild experience for those kids to be able to learn from you and learn from him at the same time.
yeah, no, it's a priceless thing. Like
Yeah,
the skills, the relationships, the things that I've been able to experience because of jujitsu. Is priceless. Like I couldn't, like people ask like if you could do it all over again, like what would you do different? Than like I would just train more. I would just do
yeah,
more of what I done. I wouldn't do less. So like
yeah,
and what would that have done? That would have just gave me more time to connect with my friends. That gave me more time to train. So like
yeah,
jiu-jitsu really what it is about, it's about the connections you make. It's not just about being the toughest guy because like there's a lot of really good people out there that people don't
yeah,
like, that aren't nice people, that are just good in jiu-jitsu.
yeah,
So it's really important that you are realizing this, from a young age. It's about treating people how you want to be treated and being a good person. You know what I mean? And it's not about faking being a good person because you can only fake for so long. You're going to get outed. People are going to
you'll get
realize it. You
exposed.
know what I mean? So it's really important that like you're genuine and you just be yourself and people are going to be attracted to that. So right now I'm just being myself and I'm being genuine and I'm trying to create this, just this outlet for these kids to just bring them together. It just gives me goosebumps. It just gets because it's like it's such an amazing thing for them. There's right now a lot of these kids are all sponsored surfers. They're some of the best surfers in the United States. I was gonna say the state, but if we're the best surfer in the state, that means it's the United States. You know what I mean?
Hell
So
yeah.
these kids are some of the best surfers around, and now I'm teaching them jujitsu, and they're just so talented. Every single thing you teach them, they're just like they're just amazing.
Oh, dude, because they have crazy body awareness and
Oh,
they
they're just
like
talented.
spatial
Just
awareness and
talented, talented, talented. Like think of talented, and that's what you think of these kids. So, like,
why do you
yeah.
think that that surfing and jujitsu are so like hand in hand?
You know what? I just feel like being in the ocean and being around nature is just so good for your body, and it makes you feel so good. And then
Yeah,
like just having to have like that awareness, like you're talking about, of like surfing is very similar to fighting, where you never know what the guy's gonna do. You know what I mean? Like the so
Yeah.
wave, every single wave is different. Like you go with
Yeah.
100 different people, there might be 100 different reactions. You know, so like
Yeah.
how, for example, that move that just happened, that lawsuit in jiu-jitsu. Did you just see that? That sixty
Yeah.
four
Yeah.
million
No,
dollar.
that's I
I
live
have
in
I have a
Encinitas. That's right
friend
up the
that's a
street from
black
me.
belt. You know that
Yeah.
every time that he trains now, he has PTSD about it because he watched the video. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
like he's training, and next he's thinking about the so it's
Yep.
crazy because it's like boom, that quick, and you can have some life changing injury. But
Yeah.
we train our jiu-jitsu our whole lives, never trying to injure somebody like that. That's our worst. That's a nightmare. That's Sinistro's.
Yeah.
He'll never try to hurt somebody on purpose. He's such a nice guy. I've known him for years. You know what I
Oh, and
mean?
I mean, in town. So I live like a half mile from his gym, and like he has the greatest reputation.
He's a
I
great
mean,
guy.
everyone,
He's a great guy.
yeah. And it
So
was it was very clearly an accident. I mean, we're sidebar now, but like you watch the video, it's very clearly an accident.
yeah, no, it's
That's not
unfortunate.
malicious.
It
Yeah.
wasn't on
It's
purpose,
fucking sad,
But
man.
what's messed up though is that the insurance didn't pay the kid out in the beginning. You know what I mean? So
Right.
then he had to make a lawsuit, and then so it's a crazy situation because like I'm glad that the kid won a lawsuit making money. You know what I mean, from the
For sure.
insurance, but it's a bummer that it was like made jujitsu not look good or unsafe, or
Yeah.
anything that doesn't make jiu-jitsu look good is a bummer. But I'm happy that the kid got taken care of, you
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
And it's one of those sticky situations, and we can all learn from. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm just grateful for jiu-jitsu and want to be able to train jiu-jitsu for a really long time, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, for the all the reasons you just said. I mean, that's why we moved to Lucadia, Encinitas, is to be close to the water, close to nature, and be able to surf and train as much as possible. I mean, the two go, they're so hand in hand. Like there's so many elements of surfing that teach you things that jujitsu doesn't. Jujitsu teaches you so many things that you can apply to being out in the water. It's just
Totally.
how to be chill, how to chill out and not be all fearful and anticipatory about everything that's going on all the time. When you get this thing off the ground and more people start coming, what's kind of your approach to how you want to train these kids? Like, what are the biggest things you want them walking away from?
Well, again, like I said, like for me, of course, we already know that these kids are going to be getting taught good, high level quality jujitsu. So
Yeah,
when you meet these kids, and if they ever go travel somewhere, my vision would be for them to have a good representation of good, beautiful jujitsu. But at the same time, that's not everything for me. I want them to look you in the eye and shake your hand. I want them to introduce themselves to you. I want them to for them to leave a mark on your mind, like, wow, this is a very nice, polite kid, respectful kid, and he's just somebody that will leave a mark on you, not thinking you're meeting a punk. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
again, like when I'm going to be teaching these kids, something that's really going to be a big thing for me is just like, again, anyone can be good in jujitsu, but it's about making good people and good humans and parts of our community that are going to make our community better. And that's
yeah.
what makes it so satisfying to be involved with teenagers, because they're at this age right now where they're so easily influenced, where if I was a bad guy doing bad things, you know,
You're
I
gonna make bad kids.
you know, I wouldn't have as much kids probably, but I would have some kids that I would be able to form into bad guys. So
Yeah,
because I have this good energy, and I'm pumping these kids up, and they all feel so stoked to be around, and we're all just like it's like a magnet. These kids are all getting pulled in because they all want to be there. Like the first class was 7, the third class was 22. Let's see how much kids come tonight. I'm just super excited and looking forward to the future, and just letting this thing grow naturally, because in reality, if I advertise it too much, it's going to get too big. I'm not going
yeah,
to have space. I got to let it just go naturally, because I'm already like, last night was amazing, but it was packed, you know?
yeah.
So I really see it getting to like 25, 30, and then I'm going to have to cut it at 30. Be
You
like,
have to
okay,
cap it.
we have no room right now inside
Yeah.
here. So, but last
Well, Hunter, it's exciting. I'm stoked to see the awesome kids that you help turn out of there and the lessons that you help instill in them. It's really cool to see someone invested in the way that you are personally, like going about this and really trying to create better people. So for anyone going to Kauai, you got to go check it out. And it's been a pleasure having you on, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh no, thank you so much. I really appreciate you even thinking about reaching out to me to do this because look at you have so many champions and big important people that you're taking your time out of your day to talk to, and just to have me included in them is amazing. So I feel really grateful for that.
Of course, brother. And we'll connect again in the future.
Hey, when you come to Kauai, you know already where you'll be training.
100%.